Hello, welcome to agogoayournails.com. On our history segment, we bring you the story of a great Lagosian, one of the greatest Nigerians that ever lived. He had 6 names and about 11 professions. His names are Olayinka, Herbert, Samuel, Healers, Badmus, Macaulay. His professions: he was an accomplished civil engineer, surveyor, architect, violinist, herbalist, musician, journalist, diplomat, nationalist, politician, and human rights activist. That is the story we are bringing to you, the story of Herbert Marcauley. The story is from the Guardian newspaper, the live section. History will always be kind to Olayinka, Herbert, Samuel, Elas, Badmus, Macaulay. Herbert Marcauley forged the core of the history of Lagos and what would later become Nigeria with his own hands and wits. A man that political scientists and historians describe as a professional politician. He was possibly one of the most controversial and iconic figures in Nigeria's political history. He didn't just know how to play the game, but he wrote the rules of the game with his unconventional ways and methods that hand him enemies and allies at the same time. Macaulay was one stylish, flamboyant, and charming individual who came to become the core point connector of Lagos politics from 1893 to 1946. A man of many contradictions, he was like the biblical Joseph with his coat of many colors. HM, as he is fondly called. He was also the founder of Nigeria's first political party, Nigerian National Democratic Party, NNDP, the defender of the native rights and liberties, and the first Nigerian to own a car. Born in Lagos on November 1864 to Sierra Leone Creole parents, he was the grandson of Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther, the founder of the first secondary school in Nigeria, the Christian Missionary School, that is called CMS. His father was a strict disciplinarian who ruled his house like a military setup. With his firm hand, the young, timid Macaulay was forged in fire and would alter the landscape of politics in Nigeria forever, being forged from the fire. Upon the completion of his secondary school, he was sent to England to study surveying, civil engineering, and piano tuning by the then colonial government in Lagos as an appreciative gesture of his grandfather's legacy. He excelled extremely at everything he did. As a student in England, Macaulay, a brilliant chess player, represented the west of England in a tournament against Ireland. He even got a certificate in music from Trinity College London and a certificate in violin playing from Music International College London. The young and dynamic Macaulay returned to Lagos in 1893 and landed a job shortly after. He gained quick popularity among the Lagos traditional circle because of his knowledge of Lagos lands and history. Revered for his wisdom, his advice was sought at every step. His calculated moves around Lagos earned him a nickname, Ejongboro, snake in the town, a name that stuck till his death. His involvement in Lagos politics reveals how much of a brilliant strategist and maverick but Macaulay was. He was known as the Wizard of Casting All because of his ability to obtain classified information which he used against his adversaries, so that his house was named Casting All. As a man who stood and fought for the oppression of the people, Macaulay threw himself heavily into the politics of Lagos. The infamous Oluwa land case in 1915 brought him to the limelight and saw him emerge as a champion of the masses. This case also made him enemies with the colonial government in Lagos, who in turn made his life miserable. Despite his charming attitude and his almost successful career as engineer, journalist, and politician, Herbert Marcaulay went through a lot of trials and tribulations in his private life. Perhaps you are listening and you think you have gone through a lot. You have gone through a lot. Listen, carefully. A good example was the death of his first wife, Caroline Pratt. 8 months after they got married, she had complications during her first pregnancy and died with her baby in the process. Shattered by this experience, Macaulay vowed to mourn them, that is the mother and the child, with a black bow tie constantly on his neck, a vow he kept until his death. Then there was the loss of his mother in 1920 when he was in England fighting the Old West Land case. Again in 1931, he lost two of his oldest children, Frank and Florence Augusta, within a month. That is one blow too much. Macaulay would later throw himself into the world of black magic, divination, sacrifices, and voodoo, perhaps because of the frustration. Later in his life, he became an extremely superstitious man. When you have gone through too much at times, you could become confused, no matter how seemingly intelligent you are. As an Ifa priest, he was a member of the Association of Babalawos in Lagos and a top shifting member of the society. In 1908, he exposed the corrupt practices of the European in the way they handled railway finances, and in 1919, he argued at the Privy Council in London in support of the chiefs whose lands had been taken by the British. As a result, the colonial government was forced to compensate the chiefs. In retaliation for this, he got jailed. The second time was in 1928 when his newspaper, Lagos Daily News, published the planned assassination of the Eleko of Eko by the colonial government. He was charged with libel and sentenced to 6 months with hard labor in prison at 64 years. Oh, this imprisonment made him even more popular amongst Lagosians. As the first land surveyor in Nigeria with registration number 01, he founded the oldest organized professional body in Nigeria, Licensed Surveyors Association, in 1934 with a group of friends. In 1946, although advised not to travel because of his failing health, Herbert Marcauley with his young protege, Nnamdi Azikiwe, went to Kano campaigning against the Richard Constitution of 1945. At the age of 82, there was no slowing down for the true son of Lagos. He eventually died in Kano that year. It is reported that his last words were, "Tell the National Council delegate to halt wherever they are for 4 days for Macaulay," and then they carry on. "Tell Hoget," that is his son, "to keep the flag flying." He was buried in Lagos on 11th of May 1946 with important personalities from all over the country coming to Lagos for his burial. Every market in Lagos, Nigeria, was closed for 2 days to honor the life and times of this iconic man. And your festival was staged to celebrate and escort this illustrious son of Eko to the great beyond. Over 100,000 people followed the casket to the Ikoyi cemetery. For 3 months, different societies all over the country held one form of service or ceremony to celebrate this unique individual. You can be great regardless of what you choose to do. Keep at it, be consistent, and be persistent. That is about it from history, from Agogo Ayo News.